You got to respect people who turned the lights on for you.
Mace taught me how to rap, and Cam always made sure I was on every single album he had. There would be no Jim Jones if it wasn't for them guys.
1 hour later.
And it's good to hear you give Mace his flowers.
I ain't giving no flowers. I love to hate, because I'm a hater myself.
Okay.
You don't think Pusha T should be on the greatest 50 rappers of all time list?
How? What has he done? What has he done that puts him in the greatest rappers of all time besides talk about that he probably didn't?
The rap game just got flipped upside down after Mae Clowns Jim Jones with No Mercy, right after Pusha T delivered that brutal diss that had hip-hop shook. Pusha dropped a cold bar-packed diss, calling Jim nothing more than the industry's favorite background act, and that alone had folks talking. But then Mae stepped in, and things got even nastier. He came with his own slick response, throwing shade straight at Jim's rep, his weak music catalog, his career length, and the way he got all in his feelings when fans started dragging him. On a now viral podcast episode, Mae straight up mocked Jim, calling him the Harlem hype man that never made it out the lobby. Savage. That shot alone blew the roof off and reignited their deep-rooted beef like it never left. Mace didn't stop there. He called Pusha T's diss a long overdue reality check, saying Jim had no business stepping into lyrical warfare in the first place. Then it got real. Some behind-the-scenes footage popped up, showing Jim looking emotional during an interview. He didn't name-drop Mace or Pusha, but you could hear it in his voice. He was rattled. Jim said, "People got selective memory in this game, but I've always stood on mine."
You run from the spirit of repossession. Too much enamel covers your necklace. I buy bitches, you buy them sections. You buy watches, I buy collections.
Still, the damage had been done. Still, fans couldn't help but notice how fast Mace's words spread like wildfire across social media. Memes popped up everywhere. People started clowning Jim like he was on the verge of snapping. And suddenly the whole internet was asking, is Jim Jones hitting his breaking point? Meanwhile, Pusha T's been quiet as a ghost since he dropped that lyrical bomb. He ain't said a word, no tweets, no interviews, just letting the record sit there like a ticking time bomb. And now with Mace piling on the pressure, Jim looks trapped, boxed in on both sides, while the industry watches his every move like it's a live show. This exact pressure cooker is what pushed Jim into another messy fallout. In the video, Pusha stared straight into the camera and dropped one of the coldest lines ever, accusing Jim of running from the spirit of repossession.
What you... Oh, man. Okay.
It's what they want.
Basically saying his home got snatched by the bank. That line wasn't just shady, it was surgical. And Maze, he pulled up like a full-blown spectator, popcorn in hand, laughing it up like this was primetime comedy. The disrespect was loud, unbothered, and calculated. But the wildest part, even after all this public humiliation, Jim hasn't fired back in a real way. Not yet. Jim Jones ain't backing down or letting it go. Nope. Instead of bowing out or playing it cool, he tried to clap back at Pusha T with a freestyle and took his petty straight to Instagram. And he wasn't holding back, throwing fresh shade at both Pusha and Mace like he had nothing to lose. But Mace and Cam'ron weren't about to let that slide. They jumped in fast to shut the whole thing down. No hesitation, no delay. The minute Jim started throwing slick shots, they reminded him exactly why he's not built for this lyrical war. Now rewind the tape and look at what really set this off. Pusha T and Malice pulled off a straight-up execution at their Tiny Desk performance, part of the rollout for their project, Let God Sort Him Out. It wasn't just a vibe, it was a lyrical assassination. One of the most savage moments, their performance of Chains and Whips, a new joint with Kendrick Lamar. That wasn't just a track, that was warfare.
You was a fan, nigga. You begged us, you are a fan, nigga. A fan.
Pause, though. Get off my...
The clips didn't perform like they were entertaining. They went in like they had a score to settle. And Jim was the target. Put the Tiny Desk show and the Genius breakdown side by side, and it's clear as day. Pusha didn't flinch. Not once. No blink, no stutter, just cold, calculated fire. The way he stared into the camera with that sinister smirk, it gave chills. He wasn't rapping for clout. He was aiming straight at Jim's pride. And every bar landed like a punch to the gut. This wasn't just rap, it was personal. This wasn't just wordplay. It was a calculated takedown, surgical precision in every bar. And here's the kicker. Jim Jones really got nobody to blame but himself. This whole beef, he kicked it off, unprovoked, just because he wanted to ride hard for Drake. One of the most viral bars from Chains and Whips hit like a direct jab to the throat. We all in the room, but here's the elephant. You chasing a feature out of your element?
Crush you to pieces, I hum a breath of it. I will close your heaven for the hell of it. It seems to be valor amongst veterans. I'm watching your fame escape relevance. We all in a room, but here's the elephant. There's no tombstones in the desert. I know by now you get the message. Uncle said, nigga, you must be sick. All you talk about is just getting rich. Choke my neck, nigga, and ice my bitch. Beat the system with chains and...
That line had fans screaming because everybody knew what it meant. Pusha was calling out Jim's desperate chase for a Drake feature, straight up. And let's not forget, Jim was out here loud with it. He even went public saying Drake's the greatest rapper of all time, hoping that loyalty would pay off. But instead of a cosign, Jim became known as Drake's lyrical watchdog, barking at Pusha on every platform he could get on. The man was doing interviews, dropping freestyles, and coming for Pusha like it was personal. It hit a boiling point when he pulled up on the Breakfast Club, downplaying Pusha's legacy and saying he didn't belong on Billboard's top 50 greatest rappers list, even though Pusha had already locked in at number 29. Jim didn't stop there. He doubled down on Rap Caviar's podcast too. Once again, he said Pusha T doesn't deserve a spot in the top 50, claiming he's done nothing impactful for hip-hop culture. That comment alone stirred up serious debates online and reignited old tensions like dry wood catching fire. But here's what really showed how deep it cut. After Chains and Whips dropped, Jim fired back almost immediately with a freestyle. That reaction said it all. Pusha's words hit where it hurt. But here's where things take a wild twist. Jim's so-called freestyle response, yeah, it wasn't even new. Turns out he recorded that joint 2 years ago, way before Chains and Whips ever dropped.
Sing along the 5 Pusha T records right now, his records.
Yes.
Name
I love
them.
Pusha. Nostalgia.
Oh, you was a Pusha T fan.
If
He's
you
like,
know, you know.
I didn't know he had fans like that. Can you name 5 Pusha T records? No,
Dreaming of
his
the
records.
past.
See, but
No, can you? No,
But
can
see,
you rap to 5 Pusha?
I can't rap 5. No,
All right,
I
can
can't.
you rap to
But
5?
I'm also-
Wait. Can you rap? If 5 Pusha T records, not the records he's featured on, if 5 Pusha T records came on right now, could you rap them?
You can rap 5 Pusha T records?
Yeah.
Could you could you rap 5 Pusha T records right now if they started playing?
What do you mean rap though? Like the hook? Or just like
Could you sing them? You're not in my top 50. You might be in Charlemagne's top 50 and things like that.
Pusha
But
top 50.
you haven't done that much for me in my life. Like I didn't never want to be like Pusha. I never had a Pusha moment in my life. I never thought like you dig. Like where I'm from, want to be like you if you was really that dude and that rapper and things
Wayne
like that.
wanted to
It's
be like Pusha? He was influenced by Pusha?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
That's why Pusha did the Mr. Me Too record.
Okay, cool. You a very strong Pusha T fan. Nigga, you is nowhere near the top 50. You top 950.
So now the real question is, how did Jim get a hold of the beat before the song was even released? The answer? A Louis Vuitton runway show. That's right, the clips previewed part of the track while walking the stage, and the beat leaked just enough for some ears to catch it. Jim wasted no time. He grabbed that partial instrumental and dropped a freestyle the very next day. This move was fast, calculated, and clearly planned to get ahead of whatever was coming. But when the full clip's performance finally went viral, especially that now infamous Tiny Desk set, Jim jumped back into the mix like it just happened. He reposted an old clip of his freestyle to Instagram and tried to play it off like he was responding in real time. His caption read, "I thought we addressed this already. He gonna need a bigger desk, cause that one was too tiny. This is surgical. I'm not a storyteller, I'm a life liver, and your brother's still a friend to me, LOL." But once that post went live, things blew up, and not in a good way. Fans were quick to call him out. The comments got brutal. People said he got smoked so bad he had to recycle an old diss and act like it was fresh. The backlash? Immediate, unfiltered. And it raised a bigger question. Was Jim ever really in control of this beef? Or was he just scrambling to save face after getting lyrically dragged? Should Jim keep throwing shots or finally let it die? That's what the internet's asking.
You don't think Pusha T should be on the greatest 50 rappers of all time list?
How? What has he
What?
done? What has he done that puts him in the greatest rappers of all time besides talk about that he probably didn't get. What has he done? Nobody has dressed like him. Nobody want to be like Pusha T. No, I don't remember nothing. And let's not be evil, but we don't talk about rap where that's popping the want to be like. I don't know too many in this game that was leaning towards being like Pusha T. I don't know no records they play in the club or Pusha T. They don't play outside. NBA Youngboy before Pusha T.
That's wild, Jim. That's
NBA Youngboy before Pusha
crazy.
T?
That's crazy. What do you... What? Nah, Jim just trying to get everybody mad.
Pusha T around out here. You heard?
Jim trying to get everybody mad. That Jim's... look at him. Look at him laughing.
But that's what I'm trying. That's how I feel about Pusha T being on.
One user clowned him hard, saying he ain't say no names and you out here bragging about enamel on your chains. Another chimed in with, jealousy turns into obsession. Give it up, man, you reaching. And it wasn't just randoms in the comments. Industry folks had something to say too, and you already know Mace and Cameron were front row for the drama. With the kind of history they got with Jim, yeah, they were watching like it was premium content. To really understand why they were enjoying this so much, you gotta rewind to the beginning. Mace, Cam, and Jim all came up out of Harlem. Back in the mid-90s, they were part of the same rap crew, Children of the Corn. On paper, it looked like a brotherhood, but Cameron later said the bond wasn't as tight as Jim likes to claim. Mace was the first one to really blow, signing to Bad Boy and turning into a star almost overnight. And according to Jim, that fame changed everything. He said Mace switched up real quick, started distancing himself from the circle, especially from Cam. The vibe shifted. The energy got weird. Jim broke it down during an interview on the Respectfully Justin show in January. He said he saw Mace bad-mouthing Cameron during those early glory days, and that moment changed everything for him. That's when I lost all respect for him, Jim said, no hesitation. So now, seeing Mace getting the last laugh while Jim's out here reposting recycled freestyles and catching heat from all sides, that's personal. And Cam?
He was your man, like on the side, like on the side, just he was not a rapper at all. Right. So when Ballin' took place, and I'm looking and I'm going, oh, he having a moment. That's the Lloyd Banks. This is Lloyd Banks thing. He wanted that. He was watching them be that, like Mace be that, and Cam be that, and looked at, and it was finally he had one. Mm-hmm. And I just looked, and I knew I just took the shot, Murder, to see, because I wasn't sure he was gonna go for it. But I was like, we like Jimmy better than you anyway, Cam. You gotta watch and see how he responds. And then when you see, he like, oh shit, he really like that. give me that, give me Jimmy. Yeah, tell him we want you at the show, Jimmy. Yo, but that was one of those things I just threw it out. Yo.
He ain't saying much, but his smirk says it all. The Harlem roots ran deep, but so did the betrayal. That old resentment, yeah, it's still alive. This beef didn't fade with time, it just evolved. Decades later, the tension still creeps into their tone, their interviews, even the sneak disses. What we're seeing now ain't just about bars or diss tracks. This is about deep-rooted history and Harlem pride that never got fully resolved. Back in the day when Mace started rising under Diddy's wing, he was stepping into the mainstream while Cameron was still in the trenches. And when Cam finally made it, he brought Jim Jones up with him, laying the groundwork for what would become the Diplomats, one of Harlem's most iconic hip-hop crews. Meanwhile, Mace dipped. After falling out with Diddy, he left rap completely and became a pastor, stepping all the way out the industry. For a minute, it looked like he closed that chapter for good. But a few years later, he came right back, trying to jump back into rap like nothing happened.
They got nothing else to think about but Capo. I did a lot for them in their life. You heard? Both of them. Pause though. Get off of my dirt. There's only space on there for baby girl, man. Come on, man. Tugging on my shit like that.
To Jim Jones, that move looked suspect. Flip-flopping between preaching and spitting bars didn't scream conviction. It looked more like a play for attention. Like Mace only showed up when the lights came back on. That kind of switch-up didn't sit right with Jim, who always stayed active and on brand in the culture. Even though Mace and Cameron had their own fallout over the years, they managed to squash it in 2022. Not only did they reconnect, they flipped the reunion into a whole business. The two teamed up to launch a sports podcast called It Is What It Is, and their chemistry had people talking. So now, with Mace and Cam back on good terms and both laughing from the sidelines while Jim catches heat, it's clear those old wounds in Harlem, they never fully healed, and this moment just brought them right back to the surface. Their reunion may have looked all smiles, but for Jim Jones, it hit a nerve. Word is, Jim felt iced out and tight about Mace and Cam patching things up without him. That frustration, it didn't stay quiet for long. Jim started throwing shade again, even taking shots at Mace's looks, saying he needed to shed some weight. Real petty energy. But Mace and Cam, they weren't about to let that slide. Oh no, they turned the heat all the way up. Instead of clapping back with words, they made a power move. They invited Jim's longtime rival, 50 Cent, onto their podcast, It Is What It Is. And this wasn't no casual guest spot. This was strategic trolling at its finest. During the episode, Cam stirred the pot by asking Mace to revisit one of the most unexpected moments in Harlem rap history, 2007. That was the peak of the Dipset versus G-Unit drama. But out of nowhere, Jim Jones showed up at one of 50 Cent's concerts. The whole industry did a double take like, what's he doing there? This wasn't just a walk down memory lane, this was carefully planned. Cam brought up Jim like he was lobbing an alley-oop, and 50, he slammed it home without hesitation. The room felt it. Everyone knew this was more than banter. It was a tactical strike, cooked up for views and revenge. It put the spotlight back on all the messy history Harlem's rap elites have been dancing around for years. And just like clockwork, Jim fired back. During an interview with Justin LeBoy, he let loose, visibly irritated that his name was dragged into the mix again. He aimed at both Cam and 50, clearly mad that the podcast turned his past moves into primetime entertainment. The lines weren't just drawn, they were broadcasted for everyone to see. Jim didn't hold back, he went full throttle, saying both Cam and Mace owe him respect. In his eyes, he was a major pillar in their early success and deserved recognition as a foundational force behind the Dipset movement. But the headline moment, Jim claiming he's the real mastermind behind Dipset's iconic style? Yep, he said he was the one who crafted the image. The bold streetwear, the luxury flex, even the legendary pink fur coat that Cameron made famous. According to Jim, all that heat came from his vision. He painted himself as the true creative brain behind the Diplomat's branding. And that's a topic fans have been arguing about for years. But Cameron wasn't letting that slide, not even for a second. On the podcast, he clapped back hard, pulling out receipts and facts to shut Jim's version of the story down. Cam laid out the timeline with precision, making it clear Jim Jones wasn't even in the original Dipset lineup. Cam said the real foundation of Dipset had already been built, long before Jim came into the picture. He was brought in later, after the groundwork was already set. Period. And Cam didn't stop there. He also addressed Jim's claim that he saw Mace disrespecting him during the early Bad Boy days. Cam shut that all the way down. He said Jim wasn't even around back then, nowhere in the room. By that time, Children of the Corn had already made noise, and Jim was still on the outside looking in. From Cam's point of view, Jim came in after the legacy was already moving and just grew into the crew over time. This whole back and forth cracked open an even deeper divide, one that's clearly about more than just style or shout-outs. It's about clashing memories, egos, and the fight to own the legacy. As this messy back and forth keeps heating up, one thing's clear, these old Harlem grudges are far from dead. In fact, they're roaring back louder than ever, and just when you thought Cam was gonna ease up, he doubled down. He hit Jim with a straight-up bombshell. Mace was the one who taught you how to rap. And to make sure it stung, Cam brought receipts, video footage of Jim himself admitting it. There was no dodging it, no twisting the narrative. Jim said it with his own mouth, and now the whole world's watching it on replay. But the internet really lost it when the cameras cut to Mace mid-episode. No shade, no comments, just Mace casually eating popcorn, then choking from laughing too hard. That single moment, instantly viral. Fans turned it into a meme overnight. Mace didn't even have to say a word, and he still managed to steal the show. His silence hit harder than a diss track, and Jim felt it. He fired back, saying he'd slapped the popcorn out of Mace's hands. That alone showed how deep it cut. The reaction was personal and emotional. Still, Jim ain't backing off. Word is, he's teaming up with Drake on his upcoming album titled Iceman, and insiders are already talking. They're saying Jim's cooking up lyrical heat aimed directly at Pusha T, Mace, and Cameron. Apparently, there's one track in particular that's already buzzing behind the scenes, something bold, something savage. Folks close to the studio say it could flip the narrative if it lands right. Will it hit the mark, or will it fizzle like the last freestyle repost? That's still up in the air. But one thing's certain, this war is not over. The wounds are wide open, Harlem is back in the headlines, and everybody's watching to see who really holds the crown in this legacy battle. If you're locked into this kind of raw drama, lyrical smoke, and hip-hop truth-telling, don't play around. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, drop your thoughts in the comments, and share this video with your crew. Because this saga is just getting started. Catch you in the next one.